Okay, so how do you decide what green coffees you buy? Is it score? Is it a dollar amount? Do you buy the same coffee year after year? Do you have some other purpose or mission statement you're trying to align yourself with? And the reality is, it doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, I have a perspective of what I think it should be, but you're building your business and you should build it for yourself in a way that makes sense for you. And so, what we're going to talk about today is how do you even start to formulate some of those beliefs and perspectives and vision for how do you buy green coffee? My perspective is that you should buy the same coffee every year, no matter what. Obviously, things change, volume changes, requirements change. But really, the thing that we want to be thinking about is what is the framework that we're using to source coffee? When I work with clients, this is what I take them through when we're talking about this is how important is score to you? Are you okay with above 80 or above 90? How important is score to you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is the dollar amount that you pay for coffee? Is it important to you to do social projects with the people that you buy green coffee from? Is it important to you to visit origin, and more specifically, the origins and the people that you buy from? How important is it to you to be connected to the people that you're buying from and have their contact info and WhatsApp them? How important is it to you to have a crazy, mind-blowing, wild coffees on your menu? How important is traceability to you? And once you start to score those questions, 1 being least important and 10 being the most important, then you can start to kind of see like, oh, I scored that a little higher than I thought I would. I scored this a little higher than I thought I would. And so then you can start to realize, okay, these are actually things I care about. The things you probably scored, let's say a 7 or above. Those are probably things you should circle and underline and think through. Okay, I need to think through what I believe about this. And once you start to develop a sort of perspective on this is what I think is important in our buying practices, now we can start to say, okay, great. These are the things we want. Now we can start looking for coffee that aligns with what we've just scored really high. The reason why I ask owners to outline this and to think about this is because it's going to help you make decisions more quickly when you're buying green coffee, and time is money. And so if you have this sort of structure for this is how we buy, this is what we're looking for, it's within this price point, this score, or these types of relationships. Once you have this sort of framework, now we can say, great, we're looking for these coffees, and anything that doesn't fit within this window is probably not going to work for us. This is aligned, this is not. We're not going to buy that coffee. We're not going to look at that coffee. And so that's going to help you to make decisions quicker and be a little bit more efficient in the buying process. Now, it's important to remember that as your business grows and develops, this might also change. And so you should go back and you should revisit those questions that I offered at the beginning of this video around what actually do I believe about this? Has it changed? Do I actually care more about relationship than score now than I did 2 years ago? Do I actually care more about visiting origin now than I did before? As your business grows, this will shift and adjust and make some changes. And that's okay. That's in fact a good thing. But when you have this framework, then you can evaluate the framework and say, oh yeah, we need to make some adjustments here as a result of that. Okay, I do want to talk briefly about QC. Now, this isn't something I spend a ton of time talking about, but I do think it's really important. I think that over the last, really since COVID, I have a belief that we have lost our ability to effectively evaluate the quality of coffee. And I think it's because we sort of stopped doing QC during COVID because it was gross to share slurp with people. And then the COVID safe protocol came out, and that was a good addition, a good shift, a good update. But I still think we're kind of sloppy about it. Generally speaking, I know there's roasters that are doing amazing work in this space. And so again, we're saying broad brushstrokes here. But I've seen just quite a few folks that are I think that there's been a knowledge gap because of COVID. There was a stoppage of doing really, really rigorous QC for years almost. And then all of a sudden now we're doing QC, but the people that were doing it before maybe are doing different roles, and the people doing it now are a little bit more relaxed. And I understand that coffee tables are a very political space. My friend Lucia Solis said that to me one time, and it stuck with me. It is political, and people's livelihoods are tied to it and connected to it. And so it's really important that we acknowledge those things. But at the same time, it's also important to be efficient and effective in actually evaluating the coffees on the table and not just saying, it's fine. That's not really helpful. And so I do want to spend a couple of minutes here. I just want to briefly go over some structure for handling QC and how to take it seriously. And I understand that some roasters don't believe in this type of cupping. And I understand my background is probably showing a little bit here, but I do think it's something to be taken seriously. It's something to be thoughtful about, and it's something to also train people on and to help people learn and grow and be sort of invited into on their career journey. Here's a few quality control standards that I would start with if you don't have any. If you just, we cup coffees and that's it. So number one, cupping should be coated. Some people call it blind, but I use coated as a different way of saying that. Meaning the coffees that are on the table are sort of like coffee A, coffee B, coffee C, coffee D, and so forth. Instead of showing the actual coffee, whatever it is, if it's 3 different roast profiles of the same coffee and you're trying to dial it in, just making that coded and saying coffee A, B, and C, it's going to help you, especially if you set the cupping up, it's going to help you be a little bit more present, and it's also going to help you be a little bit more objective, and it's also going to help the other people that are in the room cupping with you be more objective, because maybe they saw the piece of tape that the profile was written or the name of the coffee was written on there was written in a color they really like. Or perhaps maybe the name of the producer was on there and they actually really like this producer. They met him. They went to visit him last year. And so what we want to do is we want to get rid of that. We want to remove that so we don't have bias coming into the cupping. So we want to do it coded. At the end of the cupping, obviously it all gets revealed and you go through coffee by coffee and talk about it. Number 2, there should be no talking, gestures, or reactions during evaluation. And the reason here is, again, not to be stiff and rigid and harsh and judgmental, but it's to not influence the other people that are there. So, oh, whoa, this coffee's amazing. Wow, did you taste that? You get ready. Now we're trying to influence other people to think this coffee is good or this coffee is bad or I don't like this coffee. You are not going to like this coffee either. We don't want to do that. During cuppings, we need to be sort of just neutral face, no gestures, no noises or anything of that nature. We're just here to taste and evaluate these coffees. Okay, number 3. The point of cuppings is to evaluate the quality of the cup and to evaluate the coffee in the cup. And as a result, I believe scoring is helpful. I don't think it's the end all. I don't think it's a perfect solution. And I understand the arguments against scoring. And in fact, I agree with some of them. The thing that I would say is that if you are foregoing scoring specifically, you need to come up with some other type of criteria to rank coffee or to evaluate coffee. And I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to necessarily score or evaluate, but there does need to be some sort of evaluation of like, maybe it's coffees that fit within a particular parameter and are going to fit within a particular kind of coffee that you offer. That's fine. My point is that you must determine a sort of shared language and structure and framework so that you can provide feedback on coffees. I was just speaking with an importer not too long ago, and they were saying that they rarely receive feedback from people that ask for samples. And that is a miss. That is a part of our responsibility. If we're going to ask for samples, even if we paid for the samples, we should provide feedback, not necessarily, not to rip anybody up, but to say, hey, we didn't like this sample because of this, and this reason, or this won't fit for what we're looking for because we only buy wash coffees and that was a cold room. Whatever it is, we need to provide feedback to the people that we're buying coffee from or potentially buying coffee from, because it's a form of respect. It's a form of acknowledgement of their work. Hey, just so you know, we cup through the coffees. Thank you for sitting them. These aren't going to fit. I did really like this one. We need to make sure that we have a structure for how we're providing feedback so that people understand, now I know that maybe I shouldn't have sent those coffees to you. Maybe I should have sent these other coffees to you. And so that's part of the reason why we want to offer feedback, is not to be critical of the coffees, but to articulate, hey, we cupped them. This is where we're at. These are the things we're thinking about. These are the things we liked about them. These are the things we didn't like about them. These are the coffees we think would fit. These are the coffees that would fit within our price range that we're used to spending. That's the kind of thing that we need to start thinking about and talking about, so that the people that we're working with or potentially working with can get a sense of, okay, now I understand where you're coming from. Even if they disagree, and even if you disagree with them, it's about a conversation back and forth, and it's a form of respect to acknowledge that, hey, we tasted your coffees and we want to buy some, or we don't want to buy any, but we tasted them and this is what we thought. And this is where we were at. Number 4, wait to talk about the coffees until everyone's gone through. Your evaluation of the coffees that you've just cupped should be reserved till the end, once everyone's gone through and everyone's ready to start discussing the coffees. It's very frustrating when you've only gone through 2 passes and people are like, all right, let's talk about coffee number 1. This is something that that culturally, as a company, you have to sort of feel and understand. It looks like they're not quite done yet. Hey, just so you know, the 3 of us are ready. Whenever you're ready, we're ready to talk about these coffees. Just it's okay to have that conversation. It's okay to acknowledge, hey, we're ready to talk whenever you are. But that's it. We don't need to say, all right, let's get into A. A was amazing, because now we've started to influence the other people at the cupping. So we don't want to do that. Number 5, inclusive yet significant. Now, what I mean by this is, again, coffee cupping tables can be very political spaces. And there's historically been people that have been excluded from those tables. And historically, it's been people that don't look like me. So it's important for people that do look like me to acknowledge that and to ensure that people are invited to be here. But the trick here is that we still have to acknowledge that this is a significant place. Something is happening here that is important. And so even though everyone is welcome, it is still, again, significant. We have to treat it thoughtfully. This is not a space for sort of casual demeanor. This is a serious environment. It's inclusive yet significant, meaning people are welcome to join. But we are also recognizing that what's happening here is going to affect our business. And what also happens here is going to affect other people's businesses. And so there's some significance that's connected to that. And so we need to understand that. And we need to recognize the demeanor of the people around the table should resemble this significance. All right, number 6, quality control should be done frequently. At a minimum, you should be cupping your production runs weekly to ensure the profile is dialed in, and evaluate coffee and note any changes. And this is as much about the roasting as it is about tasting for, is this coffee getting baggy and old, so that you can make note of that. So maybe next year you buy a little less of it, or man, this coffee tasting amazing. Let's buy more. I'm so bummed that we're out of it this year. We should buy more next year. And so those are the types of things that we want to be keeping track of and why we're doing this. And then number 7, we need to look for defects. You and your team need to understand what defects are. You need to be able to taste for them. And you need to be able to visually see them in green and also in roasted. You need to familiarize yourself with defects so that you can taste them and so that you can see defects, meaning when it's roasted and when it's green, to be able to see, ooh, that's insect damage, or that's a partial black, or that's a full black, whatever it is. We need to be able to acknowledge that and to see those things, because that's going to help you buy better and buy more thoughtfully and buy coffee that fits. I hope that's helpful as you start to think through what green coffee you buy, and then also how do we QC it? How do we make decisions based off of that? As always, be well.